I'm sure this is going to trigger some people, but my short answer to is LMU good? In my opinion, not really. It'll be a matter of minutes before the fanboys are in the comments telling me that I'm wrong, but we're all entitled to our opinions, and for me, LMU is just not a next-gen simulator, or I would expect a lot more from a game in 2025 that's aiming for the top spot. And in this video, we'll talk about why I think LMU is not the game and why I don't think it's anywhere near ready for the 1.0 release. So I actually bought LMU a few months ago and refunded it. I was told that the VR experience was meant to be amazing, best sim, blah blah blah. But for someone who strictly plays in VR, I wasn't impressed at all. Like, the maps look flat and boring with no detail, but we touch on graphics in the video. The limited amount of content that comes with the base game is pretty weak. There's like a handful of cars and what, 3 tracks, 4 tracks at most. And for me, the driving experience, in certain cars at least, is just not that enjoyable. The force feedback is really harsh unless you sit and dial your settings in. Like, the raw out-the-box experience just wasn't it. So skipping forward to the 1.0 release, I thought I would give it another try. I've been watching Jardier on stream, either ACC or LMU, and he seems to be enjoying it. Everybody in the chat seems to think it's a great game, so I thought I would give it another go. So let's take a look at my second first time playing the game, my experience and thoughts on 1.0 release, and things I liked, things I don't like, and a couple of glitches that I ran into along the way. So standard stuff, load the game up, pick a car, pick a track from the select few that we can choose. I thought we would try this new Mercedes around Spa. We've been driving Spa recently this week on ACC, so I thought it'd be a good comparison to start with. So loaded into the game, went straight into the settings and found my first glitch. So because I use a low rotation on my wheel, I wanted to change it on the wheel and match it up in game. But if I press the button on the wheel to change my wheel settings, every time I go to cycle through the options, it forces it to glitch and won't allow me to do it while I'm in the menu. The second glitch I encountered, while trying to record the replay for some cinematic footage for this video, quickly touch on load times. These are absolutely ridiculous. I don't think I've seen a game that takes this long to load in a while. But yeah, I tried loading the replay to get some footage for the video, and page up and page down cycle through different camera modes. So from the cinematic camera that you see here to the first person or third person camera options. So this will be the third time that it's done it. So I set it to screen record so we could see exactly what was happening. Comes up with an error, you know, send report. So there's the second glitch I had. The next glitch, what's wrong with the camera? Why does it look so squished? And it did this all day on day one. The next day when I came back and tried again, it stopped and it was back to normal. But this was kind of weird. But yeah, so this was my day one on the track in this car. Was not impressed with the force feedback, was not impressed with the graphics, not impressed with the VR. Another thing, you can't change graphics settings while in the game in VR. You have to back out to the main menu, go into settings and change any type of graphics presets or any type of graphic settings. So like, how am I meant to immediately test if I want to use ultra or high or medium? Oh, I have to back out every single time to go test it. But one thing I noticed is regarding the graphics, at a distance where like the concertinaed metal on the barriers meets at a distance where the shadows become one black object, like there's too much sharpening within the image. And I think that applies for everything as well. Maybe even in the cinematics, in the replays, the image is trying to be too sharp. Like, I typically play with 4K ultra settings, so the image should be at its best, especially when everybody's using 40 series graphics cards, 5090s with 9800 X3D. Like, it's 2025. Why are we still seeing graphics like this? Don't get me wrong, it doesn't look bad, but I don't think it's anything new. Especially when AC Evo looks like this. To me, Evo looks like a true next-gen game. Granted, the sound on this drive-by shot is pretty poor. The sound in LMU is really good, but we'll touch on that a little bit further on in the video. But the lighting in this, the way that the cars look, it just does a better job. For me, this looks next-gen. Oh, these videos as well are all recorded from my YouTube, so they've all been uploaded and then re-recorded and then uploaded again. But this was taken from Assetto Corsa, a 10-year-old game with a couple of graphics mods. Why is this not the standard for graphics? This looks way better than LMU. Another video that's on my YouTube of AC. Like, I dialed in all these graphics to look like this. So if a guy sat at home on his computer can make a 10-year-old game look like this with a couple of graphics mods, why doesn't the million-dollar companies making these new games have this as the standards for graphics? Like, look at the vegetation on the left there. It looks ridiculous. And the same when coming around here on this shot. The vegetation on the right hand side, when we get around this corner, it looks so good. The way that the light hits the ground and the shadows, that just looks ridiculous. While I was recording this for this video from YouTube, I couldn't stop watching it. Like, it just looks so good. So let's go across to ACC. Even in VR, this picture just looks so much more alive than LMU. Like, the graphics are just better on ACC than LMU. Like, how is that a thing? It's like 8 years old. Same with this. This was the last video I uploaded. Look at the detail in the water on the floor. Like, looks really good for an old game. And like, we can still have good racing and good force feedback, a good built-in multiplayer game and system, but we can still have graphics that look like this. This looks great, especially in VR as well. This looks sick in VR. LMU is not this. So onto the sound though. The downshifts on this McLaren, aggressive. The sound of the Mustang, just roaring, beastie. I do really like the sound, but these graphics, they're not anything new. They're not next-gen graphics. Quick plug, we started a ACC Championship on a weekend. Currently, we just have a bunch of players off the Discord taking part, which, you know, is still fun. But for all the people who are still playing ACC, if you want to get involved, join the Discord link in the description. Check under the ACC tab. I'm sure you can figure out how to join. Races are every Sunday, typically 20 to 40 minutes long. We're not trying to sweat. We're not trying to do anything crazy. We're just having fun and trying to race cleaner than public lobbies. So back to LMU. So the next day, I had another glitch. You see, while I'm in the menu, you can hear the sounds of me clicking stuff, but when I get into the game, there's no game audio. But the sound works because them two sounds are the same thing. It just didn't capture any game audio. I don't know why. But I changed my force feedback settings, pulled out the Mustang again, and gave it another chance. I would say it did feel a little bit better, but it still wasn't great. But I won't give it up. I was gonna try something else. I also tried driving not in VR. Now, I drive in VR that much. I can't do like the cockpit view without a little bit of practice. If I'm going to quickly try and drive on the screen, it's easier for me to just go on hood view. But even while we're driving down the straight on Spa, like off the track, it's just bland and boring. I thought maybe the graphics would look a little bit better like this. And obviously, graphics on screen in 4K are going to look better than any graphics in VR, as just because of the limitations of the headset. But it still wasn't great. But it was alright. Like, it's getting better. But what I wanted to do for a comparison is use the same car in ACC and Assetto, original Assetto, on the same track to see and feel the difference between the two. So even in Assetto, while we're driving down here, like I said previously, it just feels so much more alive. And this game is, I'll say it again, 8 years old. Why does this be LMU? Some people might disagree and say this doesn't look good, but I mean, maybe you're looking at a different thing. Maybe you've got rose tinted glasses for LMU, but this just, even in VR, this just looks sick. So let's switch to AC. This is obviously going to be the worst one out of the lot. This is the original track from AC. Say again, 10 years old. You can tell, so like looking off to the side of the track, there's nowhere as much detail in this as there is with ACC. But the car is a new car. This is a Racing Studios mod. Pretty sure it came out this year. So the car's up to date. The track is kind of lacking. But then I remembered, I have a LFM 2022 version of Spa. So I loaded that in to see if that was any different. And it's not. So the only thing that's updated is the curbs and like the runoff points. So they're the same as LFM. So we can see here, look, there's no runoff point. You just go straight into the gravel. But they haven't actually updated anything visual, like, you know, vegetation or textures within the track itself. So it's still pretty bland, but it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look good. You can tell it's 10 years old. So moving on from the graphics then, the next day again, still trying to find the sweet spot in LFM where I can say this is the game. I tried the Mclaren around Monza, and I've got to say this was the best experience I'd had so far. The car felt good around the track, the force feedback felt good. It was definitely more in tune with other sims, and the way that the information is translated through the wheel definitely felt more in line with what I'm used to. So I went and did a race just against AI, you know, we've got no setup, I've had no practice, but it was fun. Like, I actually enjoyed it. I went all the way to the end. Pretty sure we started at the back and I finished in first. Not really worthy of a video, you know, I'm just racing AI, but still, it was good. I had a good time. But you can tell from this clip here, it's really dark still. For it to be the whole package, the graphics have to meet up or match up with the gameplay. No one's running 1080 graphics cards anymore. I'm sure there is, but people who are taking sim racing seriously, if they're spending £1,000 plus on direct drive bases and wheels and rims and fancy pedals with load cells and everything else, I'm sure they're going to have somewhat decent PC to run it on as well. But yeah, like while I was doing this, like I said, it was definitely the most fun that I'd had on the game so far. It was the most relatable force feedback settings that I'd felt, where I could actually feel what the car was doing. It didn't feel too harsh, and it was good. I had a good time. So the next thing to do is try another class. So we have to start with the Valkyrie. This was actually the night before I'd tried the McLaren, and this is more along the same lines as the McLaren's force feedback. Like, this actually felt good, it felt relatable, it felt similar to other sims that we've driven before. Obviously, we don't have any ABS in this, and I have previously mentioned it, but for those of you who don't know, I use the clutch paddles on the wheel for accelerator and brake. So for me to try and find that sweet spot using my fingers before the brakes lock up under heavy braking is quite difficult. I feel like if you had a load cell, or, you know, even like some of these polymer block things in your pedal, you would probably be able to find that sweet spot a little bit easier, and then I will be able to using the clutch paddle for the brake. But after a little bit of practice, after a couple of laps, I was getting used to it, because obviously this is going to take time, but this felt good. So after that McLaren race, I pulled out the BMW Hypercar, and this is the same. Good force feedback, feels relatable, feels nice. Still no ABS, for those of you who don't know. Only the GT3 cars have ABS. But yeah, this felt good. And same after a couple of laps, I was kind of getting used to it. Finding the sweet spot for the braking. It's still hard, especially when you're not used to having to drive like that. But I was definitely more impressed with the way that the car feels and the amount of information that I was getting through the wheel. whizzing past GT3 cars and, you know, trying to navigate the traffic was pretty fun as well. There was one bit where two GT3 cars like racing each other and I nipped through this tiny little gap in between them. It was pretty epic. I'll probably show it on the screen here. Also, while I was doing all this, I was averaging around 70 plus FPS in VR, which is pretty good. It didn't like feel bad or stuttery or sluggish. Like, it felt good, it felt smooth. I'm sure if I was to turn my graphics down, I would get even more FPS. But when, for me, graphics are like a huge thing, the game has to look good as well as feeling good and driving well. I want to be able to look out my window and be impressed. But 70 FPS felt fun. And the AI are actually really good as well. They're quite intuitive. They seem to, you know, defend coming into corners. They'll actually like bully you a little bit on the way into it and like force you to use like all the track, push you to the edge of the track. And compared to some other games, they're quite fun to race against. But I think we've pretty much covered everything that I wanted to. So all in all for me is the graphics and some of the force feedback in some of the cars let it down a little bit to make it a true modern simulator. And the fact that we have to spend $100 or £100 to unlock everything usable within the game, I think that's a bit shitty on their part. Obviously iRacing do the same thing, but just because iRacing's doing it don't mean LMU should do it. Like a big drop or a big bundle every now and again, fine. The same way ACC did it. Like, I feel like that works a lot better than, oh, pay £4 for this car, pay £4 for this car. Oh, you want this track? Yeah, that's £4. Like, next thing you know, you're $200 in and you've got, what, 20 cars? I could just go play another game where there's 50 cars for free at the beginning. And yeah, like, I keep saying it, but the graphics are a big thing for me. I just hope Evo turns out to be the game that we want it to be. When the devs pull the finger out their ass and stop messing about and actually give us some content and give us some information about where the game's at in its life, I think that will be the top dog. For visuals, for gameplay, they just have to do everything right and Evo will be king. But while we wait for Evo, there's still plenty of other games to enjoy. I'm definitely going to keep playing LMU, dialing my settings a little bit more. Hopefully we'll get some solid updates in the future and some more free content. But until then, I'll still be maining AC, ACC. LMU will just be something I visit now and again, I feel like. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.